Hello everyone, and welcome back to our weeding training. We are going to be doing part 2 today. Let me just do a short recap of where we left off. What you are looking to weed is outdated or irrelevant material. This process is also, the official word is deselection, and is a continuous maintenance activity, and it is vital for ensuring that you have an appealing and a browsable collection. It is a very informed decision-making process. It's not just willy-nilly, and so your decision should be thoughtful and deliberate. So, checklist from last time. You have informed the public. You've let them know that there's going to be this weeding happening. So in case they start seeing books on carts that are being taken elsewhere, or possibly books in your dumpster, they are not going to freak out. You do this to avoid negative PR. You have ran your circulation reports. So you have done, that you're going to look at fiction that has not circulated in 10 years, just for example. You're not weeding your favorite sections. It is very important that you don't do that. Sometimes you have to if you're in a one-person library, of course, but we all have our favorites, and we're going to be a little biased. And you have also broken up the weeding by sections. It is always better to do a small weed where you say, okay, I'm going to take the first third of nonfiction, as opposed to being like, all right, we're going to do all the nonfiction. That's a little daunting. Smaller is better. So, criteria for weeding. So these factors determine whether an item should be weeded from your collection. Is it in poor physical condition? Is it outdated or inaccurate somehow? Is there low circulation over a defined period of time? For example, I said earlier, are you looking at perhaps fiction that has not checked out in the last 10 years? That's kind of a long time, but I'm just trying to make a point. Are there duplicates that are no longer needed? For example, a lot of libraries, when a big author like John Grisham comes out, you buy a lot of that. So you buy maybe 5 or 6 titles of it. Well, in 10 years, you probably don't need 5 or 6 titles of that John Grisham title. Are the editions superseded by a better edition? So, for example, in your test prep or your travel guides, you always want to have the updated version. So if you have super old ones, you need to get rid of those. The 5 top reasons for weeding. You are going to pull out books that are inaccurate, if they are in bad physical condition, your space needs. So you also want to start weeding when you are starting getting crammed. No library that I've ever been to in all my life has an infinite amount of space. If you are out there, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. The usage history. How many times has it been checked out? How many times has it been used? And then, for example, duplicate copies. Like I said, if your library has a policy where you buy 5 titles of a really hot title that has come out, but in 10 years, you do not need all of those titles. So let's look at data-driven decisions. This is when you are using your ILS reports to review circulation history. You also want to consider trends by a certain subject area. Is there more circulation recently in a given genre? Well, then maybe you don't want to weed that genre so heavily. But always remember to combine quantitative data with staff knowledge. What do I mean by that? You might have a book on your circulation history list that you're looking at, your ILS report, and it definitely needs to be weeded according to the report. But you talk to your staff about that particular book or that particular topic, and they tell you, well, my child is in the 7th grade, and that is going to be an assignment coming up. So then you know, well, I have this quantitative data that says that should weed it, but I have this knowledge that it probably will be needed in the future. So just think about that. how would you go about making weeding easier? Because very few people love to weed, but there are some of us out there that do love it. Set a routine. For example, you could have it in your schedule that you're going to weed 1 hour per week. I just randomly chose that. But it's something that it's actually on your to-do list on a routine maintenance. You need to have clear criteria. We are going to weed books that have low circs, that are in bad physical condition. Just be very deliberate. And depending on the area of the library you're weeding, that will vary. Use that data. I'm telling you, it's your friend. It is. And a good thing to do is when you start weeding and you haven't weeded in a while, start with some low stakes areas. What I mean by that are areas that are not your uber popular. So it's not going to be your fiction or your genre fiction. So for example, start with some nonfiction sections. Your health and your technology is a great place to start because the criteria for that section should be very clear, because that information can become outdated very quickly. So that would be a much quicker weed. And once you're in the motions of it, you'll feel more comfortable with it. And once you start seeing that your shelving looks better, that people are browsing more, it will make you want to weed more. Here are some special considerations though. There are some subjects in your collection that don't adhere to the black and whiteness of an ILS circulation report. Local history and genealogy. So these really, unless you have to weed it, you shouldn't be weeding it much at all. The classics, not because I'm a die-hard Shakespeare fan, but because if it's a school assignment that comes up a lot. So if kids every year in the 8th grade read To Kill a Mockingbird, well, I probably wouldn't be weeding a lot of those unless they're in just bad condition, really. And that just leads actually to the second one as well. If anything's tied to any school programming that like a book that comes up every year that students read. And community interest as well. One thing I always say about this is if there's a regional interest in your area, that's kind of universal. So I always use the example of in Tupelo, they have information about Elvis. They probably should always keep those books and that material about Elvis, even if they don't circulate a lot or they haven't circulated within a certain period of time even, because those are people use those for browsing. People that are traveling through the area will look at those. So that's just one example I give. Also in the Delta, any information they have about blues artists they should probably be very mindful about weeding those topics. Those are just a couple of topics off the top of my head. Let's look at your policies. So in your collection development policy, you should have a section in there, and this is just an example of one policy, about donations. I just wanted to put that in here because a lot of systems don't, or it's not elaborated on enough, but it should have something about how you have the right to decide what you're going to receive. So you are not obligated to receive any and all donations, and that even donated materials will be withdrawn according to your policy. It's very important to have that in there because you might have someone who donates a very special collection for them. 5 years later, they come back and it's not there. Well, you had the right to weed it. It becomes part of the library collection when you accept it as a donation. All right, and then here's part of your collection development policy is to talk about how staff have the responsibility for ensuring that weeding is performed on a regular basis, and that really any and everything could be weeded with approval from your director, final approval. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Okay, so you've done these things. You're like, all right, Shelley, I've listened to you. I've weeded a small part of my nonfiction, but now I need to get rid of it. What do I do with it? Well, there's a few things. And you might have to kind of use all of these because you might be like, well, I got a lot here, a lot here. You can always sell them if they're if they're in a condition enough that people would want them, like they may not be in good enough condition to keep in your collection, or it may no longer be wanted in your collection. But if they're in not, I would say, not drastic, terrible condition, you can sell them through your friends group book sales. I also have donate to community partners. I'm talking about senior centers, if you have any correctional facilities, but keep in mind that they often will not take hardback books. I would check with each individual one, because that rule is changing a little bit. If you have any community little free libraries, but don't put junk in little free libraries. I'll just get on that little soapbox for a second. Just because it's a little free library, people still want some fun, good things in there that are in good condition. So I've seen a few little free libraries in the state where it's obvious it's just a depository for the weeded materials from the library, and none of them are any good. So just keep that in mind. Recycle if you possibly can. It is sometimes very difficult to do this, so I would say if you possibly can. There are a few places out there that you can work with, and they will take your materials and recycle them for you, or they sell them. So they'll take them from you, they'll take them off your hands, but then they're gonna either sell them or recycle them. One of them that I like is Better World Books. I've even purchased books from them, but yeah, so I mean, if you can, it is very difficult. Always follow your board approved process though. So if anything I'm saying is different from what you all usually do at your particular library system, do that. Do not listen to me. But also, and this is something that I'm seeing a lot of books out there that have been withdrawn that it's not obvious they've been withdrawn. So if you have a withdrawn stamp, old school stamp, that's great. Also, either mark through the barcode or pull off the barcode. Most people just mark through it. But just to make sure that those books aren't brought back to you, because some people are like, oh, well, I saw these in the dumpster. I know you'd want to have them back. And they may not be properly identified. Couple things to remember. Weeding, it is an ongoing process. It is something that should be going on year round. It can happen whenever any library staff member comes in contact with a library material. What I mean by that is if your circulation person is checking out materials and someone comes and they check out a book and it's water damaged and it's bloated and it's dirty, make a note that when it's returned, it will be weeded out. When things are being returned, that's a great time to look at weeding, because one, those are items that have been circulating because they've been checked out, and so when they come back, you can assess, oh, is this still in good condition? Do we possibly need more of this topic? Things like that. So as I say in my second point, every staff member who touches a library material can have a say-so in the weeding process. It's for everybody. And like I said, this includes shelvers, circulation assistants, and anyone all the way up to your library system director. So, and final thoughts. Weeding is essential. It is. I'm sorry. Until we live in a world where libraries have an infinite amount of space, weeding is going to be required. It's really not optional. You can keep stacking them up and stacking them low, but eventually you're going to run out of places to stack your books. Empower your staff to see weeding as just a good part of being a librarian, working in the library. It's not a negative thing. Far from it. So with that, I'm going to close. My name is Shelley Ziegler, and I am the lead library consultant here at the Mississippi Library Commission. If I can help you in any way, because I answer so many questions. If you have a question, I could probably find an answer for you. Shoot me an email or give me a call. Thank you so much.